What's up? I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast,
where we interview successful businessmen and women to let you in on why success doesn't have a single formula to follow.
We also have a little bourbon tasting along the way, because why not?
Why not?
So guys, please enjoy this episode and let us know your thoughts at Bourbon and Business Podcast on Instagram.
Coming to you from the Bourbon and Business Studio here at the AC Hotel in Ridgeland, Mississippi. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast. How you doing this morning, Dakota?
Great, Tyler. How are you?
Doing phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your face says it all.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. You want to introduce our guest to us this morning?
I do. Today we have special guest, Elle Ingalls, founder of Pressure Free Living. Elle, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
And then Dakota, I think it's a good time for the first sip.
Okay.
What are we sipping on today?
We are sipping on Tincup. And for our hardcore fans out there, you'll remember we had Tincup on, golly, probably like within our first 20 episodes or so maybe. And we're on like 160 something now. So this is their 10-year though. It's aged a little bit longer. It's cut with Rocky Mountain water, like they say. And it was bottled at an elevation of 5,251 feet.
Precisely.
It's on the side of the bottle here. And it comes with a little shot glass as the top.
Yeah,
kind of cool.
Because you need that.
Yeah.
I might say this is the best thing I've had from Tincup yet. So
You only had one.
well, I've tried some of their stuff. You know, I have drank outside of the podcast some. So
What?
I've tried some of their stuff. This is probably my favorite so far that I've tried from them.
Okay.
It's got a good burn proof.
The suspense is killing me.
I'm going to guess it's a 95 proof.
It's 84.
84 proof. So lower proof, smooth, but it does have a good afterburn. So takes a second. I'm going to have to give it a 8.6.
So, it smells fantastic.
Yeah,
I haven't tried any.
Really enjoyed that
really
from them. So if you want to get a bottle of this, go to Cheers Vineyard in Gluckstadt, Mississippi. And if you don't like bourbon, they have plenty of other spirits there, vodkas, wines, gins. I mean, anything you can think of, they pretty much have it.
Mm-hmm.
So we appreciate their sponsorship for the podcast. Well, Elle, we appreciate you coming on this morning. We like to always start this. Just tell our listeners where you're from and then how you got to the point of founding Pressure Free Living.
Okay. Well, born in New Hampshire, went to University of Michigan and ended up marrying somebody from Michigan. So I've been here since 1980. So I live in Grand Rapids now. Raised our kids in the cereal city, though, Battle Creek. So I have to shout out to Battle Creek. It was a great experience. Great town. I started this after a life in the symphony world when my two eldest sons asked me to coach their baseball team in my mental toughness tips that I taught them and my violin students. And they're like, we would be a much better team if you would teach us this stuff. So I took the ideas to the head coach and he loved it. I was talking for like 5 minutes and he said, I don't just want you to work with the boys. Will you be my private coach? So he was a financial advisor for Chase. It was 2010. That was a really rough time. It's kind of cool that 14 years later, he had me work with his eldest daughter and had her come into my program. So that's kind of how it got started. It was crazy. And then my department chair where I taught violin for years, she finds out what I'm doing and literally grabs her checkbook and says, how much is this thing? And I didn't even know what to charge her, you guys. I had no idea what to say. Like making up numbers.
$50,000.
Like, I was just making up numbers and you know, just finding my way. But I instantly put some mentors in my life and went in a big mentorship program with a best-selling author and just like, I got to figure out how to do this and do it well. So yeah, that's my origin story. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. Now you said they were mental toughness. What now? I didn't hear mental toughness.
Mental toughness tips. Okay. So these little things I would share with them, you know, to take the stage well, to take the mound well, to keep them in the zone, basically, so that they didn't overthrow, they didn't get nervous when they were on deck. So these things to keep them calm in the hot moments, basically.
Because those are spotlight moments. You know, like if you're a pitcher, like every single pitch, everyone is looking at you. That's an easy thing, like get in your head about, right? And then if you're at bat, every swing, every pitch, people are looking at you.
We had a really talented team. We had a son of a major league umpire, like really talented kids. My son was not the fastest pitcher, But using my tips, his ERA got to 1.17. So his ERA for the season ended up being 1.17.
Yeah. Wow.
Unbelievable. Like, just crazy.
If you wouldn't mind, because a lot of our listeners are business owners or people in business, what are some mental toughness tips that maybe just
Yeah.
a business owner, a salesperson could incorporate into their life?
You know, a lot of the stress is in our head. We're worrying about if we're going to get the sale. You know, we want to present well. And so one of my fastest things that I teach my clients is get out of your head and into your body for a sec. And I'll just teach you the framework if you want to hear it. Like it's pretty powerful. So you could do it with me too, because this is video as well, right? So,
Yes.
but down through your shoulders to ribs, just go wide, like just take up space. So shoulders down through the ribs, we go wide. Okay. This one's a little odd, but I already trust you guys. Okay. Don't touch each other's butts, but grab your butt, pull it back. So if you had a tail, instead of sitting on it, it could now wag behind you. Okay. Because think about it. When a dog is scared, it tucks its tail, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we sit on our butts, we're literally tucking our tail. That actually sends a neuroscience clue to our head that we have to be on alert instead of being free and open. So you get your butt back. I'm just going to give you those two. And then the next one is lift your ribs away from your hips so you're elongating the front of your body. You just grew a couple inches on the screen here. And now relax your belly. When you relax your belly, the whole front of you relaxes and your throat relaxes. So now when you talk, people actually lean in and they know, like, and trust you. So if you're wanting to make sales, if you stand on a stage, you got to talk. If you just do these few simple things, if you're standing, just think of your glutes like rising up your spine. Our glutes have two purposes: to rise up our spine and to propel us forward. So now kids sitting on a bench, shitty baseball, and I get him in this position. Now when he goes out there, the whole time he was sitting on the bench waiting for his turn to hit, his brain is like, I'm fine. I'm not afraid. So it's a little neuroscience trick to get your body in a position that literally tells your brain you're okay. So
Where did
that's
you
just
learn
simple.
these techniques?
So couple things. Some of it was just kind of natural. I've been playing violin since I was a little girl. And when I was 17, track, I actually injured my knees so severely I couldn't walk. And I was a distance captain. Like, it messed my head. Like, I was depressed. And so I went to the coach and said, can I apprentice coach? Suddenly, both male and female athletes started to make this little line before the big meets asking me to calm them down. So I just had these ways to just get them settled so they could go do their event well. So that was back then. And then something kind of nasty happened to me in college. I was the first woman in orchestral conducting at Michigan. So first woman to ever conduct the symphony there, which was kind of a big deal. And then got asked to play a recital. I play people's recitals all the time on my violin or conduct them like all the time. I'm volunteering to help. And for some reason, this kid was like the most popular kid in the music school. Little auditorium was just filled. Usually just a handful of people. I think it was that. And then, we're not afraid of public speaking. We're afraid of public speaking in front of certain people. So the whole string faculty came to see me and my colleagues play with this clarinet guy. And I think seeing them in the room, I went into a panic attack. We didn't have those words back then. We call it stage fright. But I had never had stage fright in my life. I'm now like 25 years old and I'm having stage fright. I'm like, what the heck is this? So I went to the medical library to figure out what happened to me. This is before like Inner Game of Tennis or all that stuff started to come out. Like, how are we built? So I just asked the research libraries, like, give me research. I want to learn what happened to me because that can never happen again. It's like, I'm going to bite this right now. This is not happening. And out of that, I just kind of created these ways of using my body, of elevating my head. I mean, here's a weird one, but I'll share it because you probably got some guys who have to stand in front of meetings or they're giving talks. They're trying to get sales. So when you're a conductor of an orchestra, you're the last to go out. Like, it's hurry up and wait, right? You're like just waiting backstage while everything else takes place. And then you finally get to go out. So what I would do is like, I would stand there. I would expand my energy. Like, I just like feel it going out. And this is like my bubble, right? I'm cool and calm inside it. Then with every step, you know how people say, get out of your comfort zone? I actually say, stay in your comfort zone, but expand it in step. So I would imagine this energy of me like expanding every step I took when I came out on stage, so that by the time I hit the podium and take my bow, it's the whole room, all the way out the doors, all the way out the back. So when I give that downbeat, I literally have the whole room. Like I feel like I'm in control of the whole room. So control is a thing that a lot of people have like fear of uncertainty, fear they're not in control of their emotions. You know, they're like saying things to their kids that they wish they never said, or their spouse. And so gaining control is really a big piece of what I help people do. So that's just a couple examples.
That's fantastic, and thank you for sharing those.
Yeah.
So I've read articles about like famous athletes, right? Like Kobe is one that I think everybody has probably read or seen.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows, and he used to say that like he had a different mentality when he would go onto the basketball court, right? Like that's where the whole Black Mamba nickname came from, because like that's who he became on the court, right? Like he became that person. Is that something that you teach as well? Where does that fit in with your framework?
I actually help people. You know how people wear masks to be certain things, right?
Yeah.
I help people get rid of that and be like, they genuinely feel good. They genuinely feel this. But Kobe's interesting because he had a quote once, and I have it in my planner. He said, he can never be anxious. If he is anxious, the rest of the team becomes anxious because he's the leader.
Yeah.
And that's so the truth. If you're the CEO, if you're the business owner, and people feel uncertainty from you, then everybody starts chattering. Like everybody feels, and then things start going wrong because as the leader. So what I help people do is I call it congruence, like the inside outside matches, because you genuinely are empowered from the inside. So you're really kind of claiming your true power and all your brilliance. Because here's a couple things people don't know. They say, okay, if you were super stressed and went to your physician, you got some heart stuff going on, they'll say, oh, you need to slow down. You need to take time off. Those are total myths. An entrepreneur doesn't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to do more. So what I've learned is that you could take all the time in the world and be more stressed because you're worried about your company.
All the stuff that's not getting accomplished. Yeah.
All the stuff that's not happening because you're not there. I have guys that I coach, and they're more stressed out by the vacation than they are at work.
Sure.
And so what I help people do is figure out what is actually causing you to trigger the fight or flight stress response. Okay, there's a few more F's too, F words. So the fight or flight stress
Tyler
response.
knows all the F words.
What's causing you to release stress hormones? That's what's causing all the mess in us. The inability to think clearly. The inability, you hold out your hands a little bit jittery, like all the little things that happen. Some people's faces turn red, or they feel like their chest is tightening, or they have a bunch of gut issues, IBS, colitis, ulcer, like all that kind of stuff. So whatever it is, we've got to look at what's causing you to trigger the stress response. Could be this little magic box here. You get a certain text, can't figure out what they really mean. All of a sudden you're worrying about it. That'll release these hormones. So I help people go the entire day without releasing those. Then this is all lit up. Now that takes a little bit of time. Usually it's my clients 6 to 8 weeks, but I had a guy do it. He was a sales guy. He did it in as little as 4 days. Like he was so committed. He just was like, I'm going to do this thing. I go, all you have to do is do this all day long. Just watch yourself all day long. And he just figured out those things. And in 4 days, he had like this real breakthrough. And it's really cool to see what happens. But a lot of the things that you'll read about, if you read about stress, to me, they're not true. They're not scientifically true. So I get right to the science of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, so all of your research, all of your tips and techniques are all backed by scientific research that are proven to actually help reduce that stress response, right?
Yep. And at first, I was just kind of making stuff up, guys. Like I was just, my client would present with something like, oh, let's try this. But then I started actually reading research papers, and just like digging into it. And I learned so much. And here's something that blew my mind, actually. kind of made me cry. But if a male triggers the stress response, it takes up to 9 hours before all of the hormones are dissipated out of the cells and you're back to normal. Well, that's your whole workday or your whole night trying to sleep just from one release. But a female, it's an up to 24-hour cycle, which explains a few
Wow.
things.
Yeah.
Okay. Male, female have an argument. A few hours later, the guy doesn't even remember what the argument's about. That will re-trigger her because she's still in it. She's still biologically in it. So I thought, okay, when was the last time I didn't feel angry, anxious, annoyed? That's my big one. Or ashamed in a 24-hour period? Probably age 2. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe never until 2010 when I figured this out, started using it on myself. And that was research out of Columbia where my youngest ended up going. And I think I told you a little bit about him, Dakota. Like, it was crazy. He was 10. He allows me to share this. Like, he was 10. He would get angry if he didn't get everything right on a test. Like, he's getting dragged around. He's got the 2 older brothers, and they're all in travel hockey, travel baseball, the whole deal, and in performing arts, like everything. I was a little concerned. My husband, too, were going to take him to a child psychologist the very month that I created this. And he never had an angry outburst again. He ended up going to Columbia and being number 2 in the class. He had to do a tour of duty to become a partner of my older son's companies, but they're a video production company. And so they started their company at 22 and 20. So we're a fully entrepreneurial family. Like, we just build things and create things, which is pretty fun.
One thing you touched on here, it kind of piqued my interest, talking about anxiety and how it affects, us and the people around us.
Yeah.
I saw a post here recently on social media, and I can't remember who posted
trigger
it,
you?
so I can't. No, it didn't trigger me, but I can't give them credit. I wish I could. But they talked about the college football coach Hugh Freeze. So whenever he came into Auburn University, he was the recent coach there before the one before. He comes into the university, and he's the man. Like, you see the videos of him talking. He's very confident. He's very, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to become, a national championship program. Well, fast forward 3 years in, and things are not going well in the program. And you see him on video, and he's kind of slumped in his chair. He's making a lot of excuses as to why they're not. And you can tell he's very unconfident at this point. And the guy goes on to say, the reason he was fired is because the people around him felt very anxious because of the way he was presenting himself. He wasn't fired necessarily because they weren't doing as well as he thought, but the people around him were scared because he seemed scared.
Yeah.
So when you said that, that really, I guess, set a light off with me. It was like, yeah, like that is very true. Can you speak more to that?
Yes. I have a phrase I should coin this, like trademark it, but misery doesn't just love company, it demands it. So if you're around someone who's really suffering and having a lot of worries or health issues or whatever, they actually kind of want you in it. They want you in the energy. But having you be in that same energy is not helpful. So that coach was really struggling. And that energy emanates out. So now it's like, oh, now we're all scared.
Yeah.
Especially if it's the leader. But if it's like not the leader and someone else, and we go into that same energy, so now we're worrying every night about their health thing as well, that doesn't heal anything. So one of the things I help people understand is that when you can be the rock, and at first the other person is not going to like the fact that you're the rock, that you're not getting emotional, that you're not going into the same energy. But by becoming the rock and letting that energy start to emanate from you, you are going to help them become healthier faster. So it's interesting to watch how, we imitate. When we're born, we're just imitating our parents. We don't know any better. We're just like the lobster being put into the water. Like, we don't know any better. So we think that's how it is. I was talking to someone recently who's going to become a client, and they said their family had so much drama and like craziness all the time. And they got to college and went to a friend's house, and there was none of that. And they're like, people live like this?
Hmm.
Like, we don't
Yeah.
know. We don't know what we don't know. And I didn't know. Like, I thought I was a really calm professional. I've worked with some of the greatest musicians in the world, and they have told me that I'm a really calm exec, right? But then I took a look at it and I'm like, I fly off the handle if there's dirty socks on the living floor. living room floor. Like, I get annoyed when the kitchen counters are messy. Like, what is it that's causing me to trigger the stress response? So everybody's
Hmm.
different. Like, I can go out on stage all day and that won't do it. But these other things will do it. Sound,
Hmm.
smells. I almost drowned. I almost burned when I was 4. So if I smell like burning toast in the toaster oven, I go crazy. Like, I really have to use all my tools to not overreact to just the smell of something burning. It's kind of
Hmm.
funny, but
Smell is a very, very powerful way to trigger your memory. And
oh,
they're
yes.
realizing that more and more. And if anybody's ever read Jordan Belfort's book on sales, I don't know if it's called Wolf of Wall Street or if it's called something else, but he actually talks about how he would use a certain type of like smelling something, chapstick, something that like had a really powerful smell to him before he would get on a sales call, because
Oh,
just inhaling, it was like a menthol smelling something or a, fruity, whatever it is, it triggered his brain to go into this mode like a Kobe Bryant of like, okay, it's game time. Like here I am.
oh, yeah.
Now I'm going in, right? So now I'm on the sales call. I'm gonna seal the deal. So there's a very interesting situation there. But you talked a little
Yeah.
bit about hormones and like humans throughout time and how we
Mhm.
have this fight or flight response, right? Like that's ingrained in everybody. Science has proven that.
That's
Scientists
right.
have just evaluated that for decades, centuries even. Our past used to be hunter gatherers, right? And
Right.
we traveled around a lot for a lot of people, for a lot of different civilizations until a couple of kind of like settled down and founded. But it was still, there was so much stuff in the world that could kill you. And,
That's
we have
right.
a fairly easy life now compared to how they were in like the Middle Ages and stuff like that. I mean, a common
Yeah.
cold would kill people back then. Like it wasn't as simple as it is now to go to the doctor and get a couple of medicines and be good. Like they would send you home with a bottle of bourbon and be like, yeah, tell your
That's right.
5-year-old to drink this and it'll cure their cold. And you're like, there's no way that was sound advice back then, but it was,
But it
it was
was. Yeah.
miracle cures. So what
Mhm.
does that do? And how does your framework help impact the hormonal response that is based on humans evolving throughout time, basically? Because
Yeah.
fight or flight kept us safe. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
right.
it's a
That's
needed
right.
response, but
It
how has
is.
it been impacted by the modern world?
Yeah. Well, I think we've become really good at overreacting.
Hmm.
Overreacting to political news, overreacting to anything we don't agree with, overreacting to this smallest thing, like a guy standing up at the concert in front of some people who couldn't see. It was before Lionel came out where we all stood. We're just trying to watch the opening acts. This guy just wouldn't sit down, right? It's like everyone is seated right now. Get a clue. So that was
Yeah.
causing these hot things here. I could feel the hormones surging in the guy next to me. Like, it was crazy. So we've become very good at overreacting. What I learned in 2010 is that from a resting heart rate, you got about 10 seconds before the 2 mechanisms of the brain that kick off fight or flight actually start operating. So in that 10-second window from a resting heart rate, if your heart rate is elevated, like I work with a lot of athletes, if their heart rate is elevated, they have less time, but they still have plenty of time to do something. So, for example, if I'm working with a hockey player, a basketball player, any play where there's whistles, when I have a client, I go, when you hear the whistle, immediately relax your abs and start breathing longer. Just low that breath to get your heart rate down so that if something happens on the ice, you're going to have a chance to do any of the other things I teach them in that moment. But
Hmm.
10 seconds is plenty of time to either do any of the tools. I have over 50 tools I teach. In my 2 books, I have 14 tools that I teach. But they're using your mind, and life design. So 3 types of tools. And I never know which ones are going to be the most perfect ones for each client. We have to play and find
Hmm.
out what those are. But that 10-second window is amazing. When you start to actually notice, oh, wow, that smell is starting to bother me. Okay, I have plenty of time to stop and say, okay, Is it worth messing up my body for 24 hours? No. Just because there's a little burnt toast and toast remover is not a reason to mess up this entire body, every bodily process. My whole cortex and hippocampus is going to come down. You know how you go to networking and you meet Jack and 5 seconds later you can't remember Jack's name? It's
Very
like, why
forgetful.
can't I remember Jack's name, right? I'm not stupid. All that's happened is you triggered before you got to the event. Your hippocampus is down. You can't lodge, remember, and retrieve it. I've worked with people with ADHD. What is ADHD? List of symptoms. Those symptoms exactly match some of the symptoms of fight or flight. If we cannot release the hormones, you don't have ADHD. It is not a brain dysfunction. It is a release of hormones that's causing the brain dysfunction. So I had a kid who came to me for hockey. He was only 12, very hot shot. He came to me second session, goes, wow, this helps with school, doesn't it? I go, tell me about it. He goes, I'm not normal. I have ADHD, and I got an A for the first time in my life on my history test. I go, oh, so you're not a CD student. You're brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up 4-point, straight A's all through high school, got a baseball scholarship. But because of my life design tools, where I help people really figure out what they want to do in life, he wanted to be a barber and show cattle. He did not go to the four-year institution. He became a barber, and then he is one of the top cattle showmen in the country.
Wow.
He moved
Fantastic.
to Wyoming. He's got a gorgeous wife. Like, it's just amazing, right?
Yeah.
What would happen
That's-
if that kid, what
go
would
ahead.
happen if he still thought, oh, I'm a CD student. I'm not normal. I'm a CD
Mhm.
student, and I can't learn. Like, what would happen if that's where he stayed?
That belief
In
is so
rural
powerful
Michigan.
in yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to have that
Um,
belief in yourself, and you're only going
You
to find it
do.
when you can settle your
Settle the
internal
nervous
voice
system.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always been a, I guess, firm
C&D
believer.
student. Oh,
Well, yeah, that too. But I've always been a firm believer in you. At the end of the day, you are who you think you are. And what I mean by
Yes.
that is, I don't mean if you think negatively about yourself, that's in reality who you are, but that's who you portray because that is what your thoughts are telling you.
Yeah.
But that person that does have those negative thoughts, they also have the ability to say, okay, shift that. I do think that I can be successful. I do think that I can do this.
Mhm.
And if you can tell yourself those things, it really can change the outcome of your life.
It can.
Now there
yeah.
is a key to that, because we can lie to all the people around us, but we're not able to lie to ourselves. That's the
right.
one person you
Yeah.
can't lie to. So, to become successful, there are certain things that you have to do. So if you're actually, you can't just tell yourself, hey, I'm going to be successful, and then I'm going to skip all the work that it takes to get there because
That's right.
you can't lie to yourself. What are your thoughts on that mental framework? And have you seen that be helpful to people in their careers?
Yeah. So a lot of the negative talk, the complaining, the blaming, the shaming, like all of the negative talk, so much of it is the cause of the release of these hormones.
Mm-hmm.
So when you stop releasing the hormones, your cognitive functioning, so there's your decision making here, there's 2 areas of the brain for willpower. You know how you say maybe in your business you want to do something and you don't do it, you don't do it, you don't do it. I should be doing this thing. You lack willpower, or you binge. Like you binge, you stream, you scroll, you drink too much,
scroll,
you smoke
yep.
too much. Like all of those, or you eat too much. Like all of those out of control behaviors are because these areas of the brain are down. So now you're wasting time. I think time is a really big element here for how people think about themselves. They're like, well, I didn't get enough done today. I should have done more, all those kinds of things, especially as an entrepreneur. It's endless what we can do, right? So by not releasing the hormones, your brain is going to think differently, and you're going to be able to let go of some of the blaming and shaming on yourself, blaming others, and actually cognitively think, okay, so how do I solve this? I have a tool that I call the empowering question. And what you do is you ask a question that powers you toward the solution. We'll ask questions like, why am I so stupid here? Why can't I get this project done? And instead asking, okay, how can I get this project done easily? How can I how can I solve this with the team today in less time than I thought? Like, what is it that we really want? We rarely take the time to ask that. Like, what do I
Mm.
really want? And I even have a little tool that I call it a life design tool. It's part of a 3-step goal setting thing I do. The last step of it, whatever your time block is, your agenda for the day, you put a word next to it about how you want to show up, not the outcome, but like, okay, I want to come on this podcast. I wanted to have a blast with you today. So it's like, if you're bourbon in business, like we got to have some fun, right? So
Right?
it was like,
Exactly.
so that was really what was in my mind. Like, this podcast is going to be fun. So I might have a meeting later. Actually, I'm going to go watch one of my clients who's a baseball coach, 10 and under. I'm going to go meet him for the first time. He's from another city and he's playing here. So I have a, how do I want to feel during that time block watching 10 and under ball? And so all of these time block things, even personal, like dinner with your spouse. How are you showing up at the dining room table? Are you like, oh God, it was a horrible day. Wow, wow. Resting bitch face over here. Nobody likes that. But yet that's what we do almost every night. Complain about our work and how hard everything was, But is that how we really want to be? Like, our whole family doesn't do that. Our whole
Yeah.
family does not do that. We cut all that out in 2010. Like, we come to the table because we want to have great time with each other, So it's little things like that really make a difference. They really make a difference.
Yeah, and I think you're hearing a lot, especially if you're online, looking at different self-help coaches and things like that. You hear this common theme, especially in business professionals. It talks about signal and noise. What is signal and noise?
Right.
And I think the noise, is all these negative things. These things that you cannot change. These things that bring absolutely no value to your life. Don't focus on those things.
And they're sucking up your time.
Yes.
They're sucking up your time.
And focus on the real things that actually can make a change in your life. And I think if you're able to, instead of devote your time to all these, things that you can't control, and devote them to the things you can control, that's where you see the change. That's where you see the growth in business, the growth in life, the growth in, the relationship with your loved ones and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Elle, I think as we're kind of rounding home here and approaching the end of the podcast, I'd love to hear a little bit more about, like you mentioned, the child who was diagnosed with ADHD, and then how you kind of helped him reframe that. And I've read too that, people who've been diagnosed with ADHD are like, look, if you can learn to control it in your focus times, you can actually do what's called like a hyper focus, and you can learn what most people might. Well, this isn't for everyone, of course, but some people have claimed that, you can learn what most people would take a week to learn in like a couple days, right? Because you can, what's called hyper focus your learning center of your brain on that information, instead of like being distracted by every single little, hiccup or whatever that happens in your day. So what kind of medical breakthroughs have you seen through this process with your clients? Because we all know that stress impacts your body in certain ways. It releases cortisol, which, is a fat producing hormone and that kind of stuff. So what have you seen as far as like the medical side?
Yeah. First, I want to talk about the cortisol thing for a moment. So the first flood of hormones are catecholamines. That's adrenaline, noradrenaline, and dopamine. That's what kicks out first from the adrenal glands. And that's why we're addicted to adrenaline. Hello, my name is Elle, and I'm an adrenaline addict. Like, I was. Like, totally. I thought it made me powerful, I'll be honest. I thought it made me powerful, but then I would crash and burn. I'd be exhausted by the end of the day, right? I never need a nap. I'm 63 years old. I never need a nap. Don't need to wear makeup. I was like crazy how my life has changed. So those catecholamines release, and then later the cortisol goes out to fix the brain cells and the extremities that wicked the fat and glucose out to the center of the body, so we had a massive amount to run away or fight or whatever we needed to do to save ourselves. So cortisol is actually a really great hormone. Everybody's crashing on it. I'm like, don't cancel cortisol. You need it because you release these catecholamines. Nobody talks about that. I'm like the only person in the world right now talking about that. I coach psychologists, and they go, I was coaching one, and she goes, well, I don't know about this. And then she went back to her textbook and found it, but nobody talks about it. And I think it's because we like to be adrenalized. We think it's fun because we get the hit of dopamine.
Mm-hmm. It's like a drug.
It's a drug. And that's why in a drama-filled house, they're addicted to the drama.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be anxiety addicted. I'm claiming it right
Traumatic
here. 'Cause I see
relationships, all
it.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes. You're addicted to it because you get a hit of dopamine right in the bloodstream. So it's kind of crazy. So that's just a little snippet of this stress response. But back to your question, I'm just going to share about myself. So this hand was covered in eczema for 35 years. My first big violin competition, I was 13. In 8 weeks, my fingers completely cleared. I'll show them up close here. Like those are 63-year-old fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Go take a look. Like I got carded during COVID because I had a mask on and a hat. I could only see like a tip of my white blonde hair here. and they were using my hands. And she goes, there's 21-year-olds that don't have hands like yours. I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. But the skin is the largest organ. And I'm just going to share this with you guys because you probably know someone who suffers from breast cancer or has had it or has died from it. So I had dense fibrous tissue. My mother had it too. She died at 68. She had it first when breast cancer when she was my age. In 8 weeks, my tissues completely changed. Now, what does that mean? So this woman asked me, so what does that mean? I go, instead of dense, fibrous, like hard, they're fluffy. Like, it's crazy. But it's like, I can't even believe that happened. But I've had other clients for whom theirs have completely changed. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I have all these theories, but basically anything that's chronic, mental or physical, OCD, ADHD, GAD, all the physical stuff, ulcers, chronic IBS, like any of those things, if it's going through time, you're probably triggering the stress response constantly. And that's just keeping the symptoms flaring. So one of the things I do if someone has something, I'll ask them, do you always have the symptoms? Well, no, they go up and down. Oh, that's a clue. So the physician says you have chronic whatever. What does that mean? The physician can't solve it. That's why they call it chronic. They don't have a solution for you.
Yeah.
They can throw some drugs at it, right?
Yeah.
Well, the solution is to stop releasing these abundances of hormones. Like if you can do that, the symptoms are going to lessen. If it gets to the point where you don't have the symptoms, doesn't that mean you don't have the disease?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and it's funny you say that, whenever you go to the doctor, they say, hey, you need to do things to be less stressed. And it's like, well,
thanks a lot.
Thank you
Thanks
for
a lot.
giving me that
Thank you so
information.
much.
But it's like, stress does affect our life and our health. And I think but where that starts is in the mind. There's not something that you're going to take that's going to totally make you be stress free. There's not, certain things that you're going to do. There are things you can do to be less stressed. Yes. But it all comes down to your mind and how you process things. And can you learn to process things in a healthy way? And I think that is a major thing. And I think one thing, you talked about ADHD. I was diagnosed with ADHD as a kid. And I think one of the worst things we've done as a society is to label these kids.
Oh my gosh,
you give a kid
you put them in a box
at a young age and say, hey, there's something wrong with you. We're going to take you out of regular class because you need to go to the special class because you don't learn like everybody else. And it's like,
so
hey,
harsh.
this whole school system and how it's set up is not really great for kids anyways. We're never meant to be in my opinion, in a classroom for 8 hours a day, learning like what kids are going to do well in that environment. And I think, being able to, yes, we need to be aware of things, we need to understand that, hey, maybe I do learn differently. But that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. That actually may mean that it's a superpower for me. That may mean that, hey, that, I have the ability to learn things in a shorter amount of time than, I've learned it in 5 minutes. Why do I want to sit here for another hour and let's continue to go
Those
through
were
this?
all of my sons. Like, get me out of school. They would beg
Dakota
me to
over here
homeschool.
struggling. I've already got this down. Golly.
Yeah.
Can't do math to save his life.
And so it's, I think that is one thing, and that goes back to what do we tell ourselves? Are we going to listen to everything that the world tells us and that people tell us, or are we going to believe about ourselves what we want to believe about ourselves and what we think that we can do? And I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. All those things they tell you, you need to slow down, take time off, exercise, do an hour yoga every day, meditate you don't have to do any of that. Like you don't. You can do it because it's fun, because you want to do it. But that actually, it de-stresses you for a moment, but it didn't prevent the release of hormones when you had this weird text come up.
It's covering a symptom, but it's not getting at the root cause.
I call them recovery tools. Like once you've triggered, those tools are helpful. But let's prevent the release of the hormones to begin with. Let's just prevent it.
And I think you'll see if your goal in fitness is to, put on some muscle or lose some fat or, whatever your goal is, if you can reduce that stress in your life, then you'll see quicker results as well. Because a lot of people go to the gym for 2 years, 3 years and be like, I haven't changed a bit. And I'm like, well, one, your diet is probably not changed too much either. And that's going to happen. I mean, food has a lot to do with that as well, as far as what hormones it can trigger here. Huh? Not alcohol. Yeah, no, definitely alcohol. And then too, like, what does your life look like? Are you sleeping 6 hours a night, 4 hours a night, 3 hours a night, 2 hours a night?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like versus, what the rest of your day looks like?
You cannot get a good night's sleep if you trigger the stress response. You can't.
For sure.
Your body can't go into a deep delta wave sleep. Your brain can't. And so then you're not cleaning your brain. That's why we have so much dementia and Alzheimer's. Like we're not caring for the brain the way it needs to be cared for. And you can try to go to sleep. And now we have the sleep apps and people are like, oh crap, I didn't get a good night's sleep. Now they're anxious all day because they didn't get a night's sleep.
Yeah.
I have a lot of my clients take the thing off. Just take it off. Let's deal with the root cause and then see what happens, right?
For sure. Well, great information here. I think it's a good time for a bourbon break, Dakota.
10-cup, 10-year bourbon, 84 proof. I thought it was pretty good. It has a great flavor to it. It's got a really good color. I like the bottle. I like the sell point on it, I guess, of, bottled at this elevation or whatever. Do I think that changes the flavor of it? No. But it is a cool little tidbit about it. I'm going to land at 8.5. Can you do that math?
Yeah, we're going to land at 8.5 for it. So I'm not getting that many decimals.
You're not going to the hundredth place?
No.
That's okay.
So to keep my stress low, we're going to go with 8.5.
That's fair.
On that.
That's fair.
So,
and keep mine low. I'm not going to argue with you.
Well, tell our listeners, say we had a business owner listen to this, or someone that's working in sales, or just, entrepreneur, and they say, hey, what she's talking about seems very impactful and something that I could use in my life. How can they get in touch with you or find you?
Yeah, you can just go to my website, pressure-free.com, or my name, ElleIngalls.com. That's right on here if you see it. And you'll see a button that says book a call. If you're an action taker, just book the call. We just have a conversation. I find out about you. I see if this might be a good fit for you. You see if it feels like a good fit for you. So that's the easy way. And you can look around the site. You'll see testimonials. But yeah, I'd love to have a conversation with anyone you connect me to. So
awesome. Thank you, Elle.
Well, to all our listeners, however you stream this podcast, if you would give us a rating and follow us on social media, and we'll see you next week.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
If you have any feedback or would like to be featured, reach out to us at bourbonandbusinesspodcast@gmail.com.
Or find us on Instagram at Bourbon and Business Podcast.
Thanks again for listening.
Follow us for more content and info on the next episode.